know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
How much do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too, and what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago? How much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Michigan at a 57% chance right now, followed by Arizona, Duke, and Houston. Here's the interesting caveat, Joe, for Michigan, who's the favorite right now. On February the 8th at 5 a.m., they were trading at 40%. Today, 57%. People like themselves some Michigan here.
Well, Donnie, exactly, because Michigan, it just vaulted themselves to number one in the AP poll.
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.
Good afternoon. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. Some big results in college basketball to review from last night, especially in the Big East. Seismic, if you want to call the outcome of one of the games. We'll break it all down for you. Hey, we got Michael DeCourcy in the house for the latest in college basketball. Everyone getting ready to fill out their brackets in the NCAA tournament. Less than a month away, so get ready. March Madness almost here. Also, the latest in Major League Baseball. We head out to Arizona and check in on the Kansas City Royals as our spring training previews continue. Today, we'll have Jalen Thompson from the Kansas City Star here on the show. Also, Dennis Bernstein checks in, the latest on the National Hockey League, starting back up, and also a recap on the Olympics. That and a whole lot more on this edition of NewsWire here on this Thursday. So let's get started. Our top story today, something that we feared could potentially happen, and it has. Kalshi banning and fining 2 insider traders. How about this? Enforcement on individuals accused of insider trading. Their identities not disclosed, although details of the incident reveal the identity of one of the two, Kyle Langford, never heard of him, who was previously running for California governor and currently running for Congress. In May, he posted on social media that he had wagered $100 on himself to be the next California governor. Now, Kalshi's surveillance department noticed that post, froze his account, and launched an investigation. According to a statement, a Kalshi attorney who serves as head of enforcement took a closer look. Needless to say, this is the kind of stuff that if it's not regulated, you're only doing your own internal investigation. Who knows what's going on all across the country? But prediction markets, of course, the big focus of our show with everything happening in that landscape. Meanwhile, how about this? Cincinnati Bearcats trying to get back some cash. They're suing former quarterback Brendan Sorsby in federal court, saying that he breached his NIL contract with the club when he refused to pay a $1 million exit fee because he transferred to Texas Tech, one of the better quarterbacks in the country, signing an NIL agreement with the Red Raiders that will now pay him between $4 and $6 million this season. And could we have an unprecedented move, a school paying another school to let their kid leave and go to theirs? Wow. NIL, wild, wild west. Okay, college basketball last night. This was supposed to be the game of the night. And quite frankly, it was not even close. UConn beat St. John's 72-40. Best win of the season probably for Connecticut, and worst loss of the season for St. John's. St. John's missed their last 24 shots in the game. That's a long time. Here's Dan Hurley on picking up this signature win, and obviously a pretty disgusted Rick.
Just, obviously one of our better performances of the year. Outside of missing a lot of good looks at three. There's not a whole lot for me to complain about. Just with the performance, I think just a lot of soul searching by the group during that stretch that started at MSG, where our defense kind of tanked, and then I think you saw today its capabilities when we're dialed in.
It's all on me. I'm very disappointed in our performance offensively, especially of sharing the ball, moving the ball. So it's all on me. But we'll get ready for Villanova. We're still playing for a league championship. It doesn't matter whether you lose by 1 or 40. The league championship's still at stake. Obviously, we've got to make our corrections to move on.
Wake-up call there for the Johnnies. We'll see. Meanwhile, Arkansas is playing some great basketball this season under John Calipari. They've won 5 of their last 6 games after beating Texas A&M last night, 99-84, covering that 7.5-point spread pretty easily. Darius Acuff had 22 points in the game, and they took care of the basketball. As Coach Cal said, that was the key to the win.
To have only 9 turnovers in a game that's played the way that game was played, it's kind of amazing. To take what they gave us and then pull out when you haven't played a game like that against a team like that was pretty impressive. How we played down the stretch, what Darius did, what the other guys did, playing through him, pretty amazing. DJ Wagner, woo, and he will only get better. Billy Richmond, woo. Malik Thomas, the biggest play of the game in my mind was that rebound he grabbed with 2 hands because they were making a little run, and he went and got that ball, and then we ended up scoring. Huge play. And then he comes down the stretch and he makes shots. Somebody just told me Darius was 1 for 12 in the first half. Probably should have subbed him out and sat him. But I gave him a break. But look, I'm just watching guys, and I just want confident guys, that you're confident. When you shoot it, you're shooting it confidently.
Still A-plus press conference. Coach Cal. Braden Traeger scored 21 points. Nebraska beats Maryland 74-61. They were 16.5-point favorites, so naturally they didn't cover that spread. The Huskers are having a great season, though. They're 24-4 on the year and 13-4 in the Big Ten. Fred Hoiberg talked about how valuable staying in this game was early.
I didn't like our body language. I talked about that in the huddle. We were down 3, and looking at their faces, it felt like we were down 20. So, once we fixed that and started rebounding the ball, that got us out in transition. I told them you can't run if you can't get the ball, and once we did, that got us loose a little bit. They crashed everybody, and that Sam made a couple big plays to keep a couple balls alive. He and Solomon Washington were going to after one, and you don't beat Solomon Washington very often for a loose ball, but that was a huge play that Sam got Braden to dunk on. It got the crowd into it. Our crowd was phenomenal all game long. Keeping us, these 6 o'clock games are tricky. You got people coming from work. They maybe don't get out to the bars like they do before the 8 o'clock game, but it was it's a good win for us. I was proud of how they responded. We changed up our defense, and we haven't played a lot of that over the course of the year. They responded on the fly. We worked on it and shoot around today, and they adjusted well.
Let's get to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Their run could be coming to an end depending on the outcome of this MRI for James Harden. He suffered a fracture in his right thumb during Tuesday's win over the Knicks. Further evaluations going on right now. The Bucks beat the Cavs by 2 last night, but will Harden suit up anytime soon? Remains to be seen. Meanwhile, the National Basketball Association, the Detroit Pistons just keep on winning. They beat the Thunder last night, even covered that spread, although it was close. 124-116, Detroit wins. Cade Cunningham, 29 points, 13 assists. The Thunder kept it close for the majority of this one, but JB Bickerstaff, Bernie's his dad. How old I am. JB Bickerstaff is happy they picked up the victory.
I thought it was in and out, to be honest with you. There were some really good moments where we did the things that we needed to do. And then there was times where, I felt like we let them back in the game. But, again, our guys find a way. And they do the right thing. Their heart's in the right place. They're trying to do the things we ask them to do. So, again, we'll watch the film and continue to move on.
I mean, obviously, really happy with the compete level and the resilience in the third quarter. A game got away from us a little bit and looked like it was going to be had the potential to be a runaway. The group to start the fourth quarter did a great job of getting that under 10 and getting it in striking distance and bridging to getting like Dort and Kaysen back out there when Cunningham came back. So really good job by the guys that went to gut that out. Obviously, we've got the wind in our face a little bit physically, but the guys that played tonight laid it on the line.
Get to the latest in the NBA, and of course, Nikola Jokic played last night. So if you bet on that triple-double, you hit it again. 30 points, 12 rebounds, 16 assists. That's the good news. Here's the bad news. The Nuggets couldn't, I think when you look at it, couldn't ask for more from a player that has missed so much time, and their record probably could be much better. But they win last night, 103-84 against the Boston Celtics. They were 3.5-point favorites. Also, the Rockets offense goes bananas. They took care of the Kings, 128-97. And naturally, the Rockets are still fighting for position in the West in the NBA. Also, from Major League Baseball, Giancarlo Stanton of the New York Yankees, still having trouble with those elbows yet again this season. No word on when he will be back playing in spring training, but says he hopes to be healthy the entire season. All right, Michael DeCourcy's up next. He's healthy. He's ready to go to break down the very unhealthy St. John.
Tanking is hurting the NBA right now too, and what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago, how much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
I actually, and I ended up adding this since our show started here, Rohit, but his points prop tonight at 20.5 is the same number from the Iowa State game. That's a bit of a mistake, right? When we consider the gap in opponents here. I think Peterson specifically steps up. He needs to. I think he kind of owes this team a great performance.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Let's bring in Michael DeCourcy from Sporting News. He's going to tell us who could make the NCAA tournament, who may not make the NCAA tournament. But what he's not going to be able to do here on the show is explain to me how UConn could play St. John's, a lazy February game ahead of the NCAA tournament, and win by 32 points. Wait a second here, Mike. Like, I understand that anything can happen in sports, all right? You've been around a long time, so have I. But I didn't see this one coming. 32-point victory for UConn last night over St. John's. I guess good for UConn. They needed that one after getting blown out last week, but I I don't think that St. John's needed to lose by this much, did they?
Man, I was surprised by the margin, but I did know that Connecticut needed to play with greater ferocity than they did in the first time around when they played at Madison Square Garden. It was clear that UConn did not play with emphasis, with toughness. And I think they felt like, okay, we didn't put any of it into it last time, so we'll put all of it into it this time. Terrace Reed was absolutely magnificent and dominant on the interior. They got a lot of contributions from their terrific perimeter. It's a team that had sort of fallen out of style, so to speak, because they had played fairly poorly in February and then, of course, took the big loss against Creighton at home. It's obvious to me now. They had Villanova coming up on the weekend, and they had this one, which was something of a revenge game for what was kind of an embarrassing effort by them in the Garden. And they let the Creighton thing get away from them, and they got punished aptly. But this is still a terrific team, and it's still one of the teams that can win it. It's not the best team in the country. It's not the most ideally structured team, but it is a team that absolutely has the ability to win it all.
And 40 points, by the way, for St. John's last night, the lowest since 2013. That's a really long time ago. So long ago, the SportsGrid did not exist back in 20. I digress. All right, so the Gators started off the season ranked inside the top 10. They fell back, but guess who's hot again, Mike? The Florida Gators are, once again, 22nd win of the season and surging toward the finish line here. 84-71 win over the Longhorns. They're going to get Arkansas this week. They're going to move up again in the polls if they win this one. And let's not sleep on this team. Even with Walter Clayton Jr. going to the NBA, Gators are still very deep and showed that last night.
Their front court is the best in the country. It's a front court that all has gold medals, so to speak, that all the key players across the front line helped win the national championship a year ago. And it's a new backcourt, entirely new, and that's where the struggles were early on. But Xavier Lee has become a terrific SEC player, went from being an outstanding Ivy League player to an outstanding SEC player, and that's a couple of levels up. But he's managed to do it. Boogie Fland running the show nicely. That front court, there is nobody that wants that team in their region. Like if you're a one, you're like, put Florida somewhere else. If you're, and I'm sure that there's a good chance there'll be a two by the time they get to this point. And I'll take a little bit of issue, Craig, with your assertion that they're hot. I can get hot. I could get out on the floor now and make 5 in a row, and then I would be hot. That would be certainly out of character for me. Florida's just good. They've gotten back to being a significant basketball team. They may go on a hot run here or there within a game, but on the balance, 40 minutes, they're just an outstanding basketball team with an overpowering front line.
You might hit 5 in a row. I think you lost me after that. I'm waiting for that video that we got to air here on the show. Waiting for that one. Okay, so tonight in college hoops, Mike will be locked into Michigan State and Purdue. Two teams jockeying for position as we head toward the tournament. Purdue going to be in the tournament, so will Michigan State. Boilermakers 7.5-point favorites, total of 141.5. Do you have a position at all in the game this evening, Mike?
That's a lot of points to be given Tom Izzo, isn't it? I like the little head start if I'm a Spartan. That's surprising to me. Not that Purdue would be favored, but by that number is surprising. Purdue has been fantastic lately, and that may be what they're seeing. Braden Smith is all in on trying to get Purdue back to the Final Four for a second time in his career. Fantastic player. And I think that Purdue has solved a lot of problems with their offense. They've got two big guys, neither of whom is a face-up, stretch you away from the basket big. But they've come up with some concepts that have been able to get Trey Kaufman-Renn in better positions. He'll be guarded, whether it's Carson Cooper or Jackson Kohler, he's going to be defended by a significantly tall player, a taller player than he is. And Michigan State doesn't like to double, especially in the post. So I'll be very curious to see how they guard him. And if Trey has a big night, I think that Purdue will win. But, gosh, 7.5, that's a lot.
All right, Mike. So, sportingnews.com, you can read more about Mike's opinions and also predictions and catch him on television all over the place this time of the year. But the one hot button topic in college basketball right now is this potential expansion of the NCAA tournament to 76 games. Mike, I hate to say it, but based on the way sports are going, with the money that is out there, I say it feels inevitable. You like it or not, Mike, and I know you don't from reading this. It just feels to me like the more money that the entities can make, they're going to try and do it.
But here's the thing about the money, Craig. The people who have the money, the networks that are being asked to say, okay, give us X, I don't remember what the figure is, but it's another X number of $1 million per game that we add to the field, are saying that's not worth it. It's not going to make the tournament more popular. It's not going to draw in bigger audiences. The games that start on Thursday at noon, the 63 games that start from Thursday at noon on the week of tournament week, those draw an average of about 8.8 million people, those first round games. The games that we're talking about adding to the field draw less than a quarter of that. So it's not worth the extra money. What basically the NCAA membership is trying to do is going to the networks and saying, give us more money for games you don't want and that the public doesn't want. Craig, when I do a Twitter poll on this, and I know Twitter isn't exactly Gallup or Harris or whatever, it's 90+% opposed to this plan.
Oh, I understand. And those games during the week, honestly, I can't even remember any of them. They're not memorable, but they added that to the pie as well. Mike, great stuff. We'll read you at sportingnews.com for more on that. See you next week. Thanks again.
How much do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too? And what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago, how much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Well, I ended up adding this since our show started here, Rohit, but his points prop tonight at 20.5 is the same number from the Iowa State game. That's a bit of a mistake, right? When we consider the gap in opponents here, I think Peterson specifically steps up. He needs to. I think he kind of owes this team a great performance.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Time now to check in with our friends at the early line. Donnie Rightside, Joe Ranieri taking a look at the prediction markets. What are they focused on today? Well, it is the NBA's Rookie of the Year, which seems to be honestly a foregone conclusion. That's neither here nor there. But how about an early preview of next year's college football season? Let's check in with Donnie and Joe as they take a look at the prediction markets for both.
Predictive markets, Joe, we love them here. We have shows, Prediction Markets Edge. You can catch that on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday right here on the SportsGrid Network. All the information you need to know about some of those emerging markets that maybe you weren't initially looking at or privy to. Now we get down to the business, and we like to have a segment or two a day right here on the early line. Let's get to the Kalshi Markets Rookie of the Year. We're dealing with the NBA here, Joe. You take a look at $2.6 million in volume on Kalshi for this. The favorite, no surprise, it's Cooper Flagg. But how about this? His college teammate behind him at 37%. That's Con Knipple. Why is he there? Because all he does is splash down threes, and actually, his team looks to be pretty decent right now as well. Getting a lot of heat. Flagg and Knipple, the two top players here in the Rookie of the Year markets, Joe. Where would you invest?
Well, the problem with Cooper Flagg is, out of sight, out of mind, right? So it's, he's got some injuries there, and Con Knipple has been doing it on an upcoming team here. Cooper Flagg is the only thing the Dallas Mavericks have going for them here. But Con Knipple, what he is doing with a bunch of other young guys around him is, to me, in a three-point league, Donnie, is pretty darn impressive. And my fear is Cooper Flagg is just going to miss too much time. And he started the season, remember? It wasn't great. People were like, this is who we got with the #1 draft pick. He's going to be a bust. Well, he's not a bust, but I don't know that he's going to pull down the Rookie of the Year either.
Man, dude can shoot that three-point shot here, keeps mowing it down here on a night-to-night basis. We'll see how that turns out here. But again, it's two Duke players here up for Rookie of the Year, and both having very, very good seasons here. So over to college football, little talk here. Undefeated season next year. Now, understand this. Joe and I have talked about college basketball a lot this year, and talk about Miami of Ohio. Will they go undefeated? No, they can't go undefeated. It's regular season, people, not with the postseason. Only a couple games left for Miami of Ohio, but the teams we're going to talk about today, the highest ranked ones, I should say the highest chances, Texas Tech, Notre Dame, and Indiana, trading at 36% for Texas Tech, Notre Dame at 31%, and Indiana at 21%. For me, Joe, it's simple. Notre Dame has to beat Miami next year. If they do, they'll probably walk through that cupcake schedule. So for me, I don't like Notre Dame, but I like money. $100 investment pays back $286. I would bet Notre Dame next year can go undefeated in the regular season.
College football is all about the cupcake schedules, right? Because the way it's written up right now, it's almost geared towards, Notre Dame having a handshake agreement that it's okay. Don't worry about it. Even if you do lose that game, you're still going to be, we're not holding it against you. You're still going to make, the college football playoff. A lot of teams, Donnie, over the next couple of years, they're shying away from having any sort of, letdowns early in the season by playing actual competition. Nope, they're going to go cupcakes. And we're going to have a lot of teams, I think, Donnie, in the future that could head into the last month of the regular season undefeated in conference play. So it's coming, unfortunately, but that's what the NCAA has created.
Like it really was for a long time in the 80s and 90s. Like you take a look at the University of Miami schedule and Florida State schedule back there all the way through. It was like, my goodness, it's heavyweight fight after heavyweight fight. And that's how they did their business. Hey, we're going to go play the best teams. Doesn't matter where. We'll get those TV games. We'll make extra money. But that's not how you make money anymore. You make money by going undefeated and making the college football playoff and sharing in those pools. It doesn't matter if your fan base is like, wait a second, I have season tickets. We have 9 home games and only one ranked opponent I'm going to see come through here, and the rest are just cupcakes from directional schools. That's what happens. And it's no surprise, Joe, that Texas Tech is leading the way at 36%. A conference that might be down, huge NIL, and it's the perfect match because if you lose in the playoffs, it doesn't matter. It's just an undefeated regular season that you're looking forward to here. UFC on Poly Market. Who will Sean Strickland fight next? And I don't even know how many. Now, see, there's 3 names here, Joe. Chimaev, Imavov, and Duplessis. I did hear that name before. So help me out on those. Give me some help.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting, right? Because he already, Chimaev, he's also has been thrown out there. But call me crazy. I mean, Duplessis was the big fight that he was already in. I might look, I might look at that, Donnie, to tell you the truth here, because he's not exactly an easy guy to step into the ring with. But UFC, I believe. UFC Houston, he just knocked the dude out rather quickly here, so he could be in line for a title fight sooner rather than later, his next one.
Michigan at a 57% chance right now, followed by Arizona, Duke, and Houston. Here's the interesting caveat, Joe, for Michigan, who's the favorite right now. On February the 8th at 5 a.m., they were trading at 40%. Today, 57%. People like themselves some Michigan here.
Well, Donnie, exactly, because Michigan, it just vaulted themselves to number one in the AP poll.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
How much do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too? And what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago, how much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
I have my own account. I don't need to have any. He didn't say any of that. So I'm of the belief that if someone accuses you of something and you don't deny it, there's a reason you didn't deny it. Because you kind of feel like they got me. And yes, I'm not going to tell you I did it, but I did it.
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Yeah, and with the Clippers, Craig, it feels like Kawhi is on an island. We saw him ball out in the All-Star game the other day. Kawhi was very impressive, and he's had a fantastic season. I think when you look at the Clippers, if the Clippers' record was better, but he's still James Harden, you would be talking about Kawhi as an MVP candidate. He's been one of the best players in the league in terms of how he's been playing. He's been fantastic.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Let's check in on the latest in the National Football League. Getting a lot of news, by the way, from the NFL Combine. So we'll dive into the very latest here. We got some prepared things to discuss that we do in our pre-show meeting. I look these things over, and then we have news that breaks in the NFL too. So I want to get to one piece of news as well. But let's bring in our SportsGrid insider Adam Kaplan for the latest on that, because he can certainly more eloquently explain what is going on in the National Football League more than me. I can just watch and tell you. All right, so a quick trade here. Let's get to this. And it looks like Robert Saleh's trying to pick a player off his old team, it would appear to me, Adam, beyond anything else. Jets, Titans make a trade. So break this one down, how sort of something like this comes to fruition.
Yeah, here's what I'm told by League Source. So you're right mentioning Saleh, obviously. He coached Jermaine Johnson. Jermaine Johnson played his best football for Robert Saleh. Now, here's the problem with Johnson and the Jets. They changed their defensive scheme last season. Aaron Glenn came in. They ran a 34. They're running a 34. Right? And Glenn, by the way, is going to call plays this season. And Johnson was not drafted by Darren Muji, the new general manager. I say new. Last year was his first season. And they were not, as I understand, going to extend Johnson's contract. He's making over $13 million this season. It's his fifth year. So Robert Saleh, and I could tell you from talking to the Titans over the last 2 years, their pass rush was anemic. They just don't have, there's next to no talent as pass rushers. They're changing their front. They're changing to what's called a wide nine, where it's a 43 front. The ends play, they get upfield, and that's their job. And that's what Jermaine Johnson does really, really well. And also told by Jet Source, one of the things they loved about Johnson early in his career, like he came in, he grew up a little bit, and then he became a leader. He became a father, and he became actually a leader for them. And they loved his maturity and how he kind of changed himself a little bit, and he became a good player, but they were not going to extend his contract. Now, what did they get in return? A very talented third-year defensive tackle in T'Vondre Sweat. Sweat was drafted by a former general manager. Notice the theme here. He was drafted by Rand Carthon, the then general manager 2 years ago. And Sweat, who was a second rounder, is a good player. But again, the Titans are changing their scheme. They're going to a 43 front, wide nine. He doesn't fit it as well. So he's going to play for Aaron Glenn. And remember, the Jets traded Quinnen Williams. That was quite the shocker last season. So you put this all together, it makes a lot of sense. Now, Sweat's on a rookie. He's only on his third year. He's going to make well less than $2 million. Johnson's going to make a ton of money. I mean, over $13 million. And that's really the difference is the cash. But overall, both teams get what they want here. It's just an odd trade because you typically don't see two bad teams make a trade for each other with each other, but you understand just the dynamics between it, because when you change your schemes, man, that changes a lot.
Definitely so. I like to discuss facts before rumors, so I'm going to change up what we were going to do to what I'm seeing right now on social media here, because that's just the way I mean, I'm just as much a rumor guy as you are, Adam, but when I see something factual, then I feel like we should do that ahead of time here. So I'm
Sure.
seeing Stephen Holder, who I know because he used to cover the Dolphins. He works for ESPN.
Yeah, nice to you.
And I see this report here that he says that, which is rare because now it opens up the door for everybody to say, go ahead, Anthony Richardson, we don't want you anymore. Go seek a trade. So, you know the league as well as anybody else here. I would think that they will get some compensation back. I don't think he's a free player, Adam, because he's still relatively cheap, and you never know. Look, if Malik Willis and all these rumors are true of $30 million, who's to say in the right developmental system that Anthony Richardson couldn't go to a team and get himself $5 million, in the future or something like that? Am I overstating his value for some team to take a shot here on him?
Well, you have to see. Here's the thing: it's like when Trey Lance was traded. You have to be willing. Like the Cowboys just did not have the infrastructure to develop him, and now he's moved on to the Chargers. Where Richardson, maturity, got to grow up. Daniel Jones beat him out soundly. With the competition, I'm told, wasn't even close. Now he's on the final year of his rookie deal. There's no fifth-year option they're going to be picking up if they can't move him. He's going to make just over $5 million, $5.4 million this season, which is not bad backup money. But you've got to want, if he's coming in there, he's a backup. He's not starting anywhere. That's not going to happen. But honestly, a change of scenery would be great for him. It didn't work with the Colts. Sometimes guys get a second chance and make the most of it. But yeah, and I cannot wait to talk about the Malik Willis stuff on Monday. We'll do that on Monday's NewsWire with you and I. But yeah, Richardson, it just hasn't worked out. It's a shame. He looked really good. His rookie training camp, he looked really good. Then he hurt his shoulder. He was never the same, and we know about the maturity issues. That's been well documented.
I got bigger news for you. I watched every single game he played in college. I never thought, and I said it here on the air, I never thought that it would work out. But I did think another year of him in college would have worked out. And then, like Jalen was going back to college. I think in a different era, no NIL then, maybe that would have helped him. But all right, let's get to the Eagles here now. So Howie Roseman, my buddy here, saying all the right things about wide receiver A.J. Brown as of right now. We don't know if he's going to be traded or not, but when you're planning on trading somebody, these are the kind of nice things you say about the player. Here's how.
I think that sometimes what's going on outside isn't the same we feel internally. And so I think like AJ is a fearless competitor who loves to play, who loves to win. And when people ask him something, he just tells them what he views as what's going on. And, he's done that before in years that we've won championships, and or gone to the Super Bowl. And so everything for him comes in terms of trying for us to get better, trying to improve, seeing things that we could improve. So someone asks him the question and he's honest, and all of us who have relationships with AJ in the building, and all of us do have relationships with AJ, see a guy who cares about his teammates. He's a captain. He's been a captain. He's not elected by me. He's not elected by Nick. He's elected by his teammates. And that speaks to the kind of leadership that he has and the work ethic that he has.
Still a great player. All I'll say is this about this whole situation, Adam. I had no problem with any team making trades, and Howie, no one bats 1,000, but Howie's as good as anybody at doing it. If he ends up trading A.J. Brown, I hope he has a good backup plan here, because their receiving group wasn't great with him, and I don't think they'd be getting a receiver back in return. It's probably headed to the NFL draft, so I'm guessing that would more or less be finding a team, Adam, right, that's like on the cusp. They think that this guy could put him over the top, because I don't know if he's going to get traded or not.
All right, a couple things here. This is what I'm told the last 24 hours. I'm just checking into like 15 players right now. Micah Fitzpatrick, we'll talk about it more on Monday. But with A.J. Brown, the Eagles don't seem to be shopping them. They're willing to listen. They clearly are. And I got to look. Dealing with Howie over the years, you kind of sometimes have to parse the words. I don't feel like they want to trade him. It's like he's 29 in June. He had a good season, not a great season. There was some thought around the league who people grade his tape. He dropped off a little bit the way that he moved. He's probably got 2 really good years left in him. And you know this as well as I do. You cover in Major League Baseball. When guys get older, you don't want to wait till it's too late to trade them, and they'll listen. They're absolutely listen. Now, there's no one who they could sign in free agency to replace him. It's either the draft. The Eagles have a lot of draft capital, or a trade. Now, if I'm the Eagles, I would, if they're going to trade Brown, I'm sure they're going to want a young receiver back who's got some size, because Devontae Smith, as great as he is 170 with probably holding a 5-pound weight. He's a great player, but he's just not that big physically.
Okay, which other move you want to get to real quick here before we go? You want to do Minkah Fitzpatrick now? Do we have enough time?
Yeah,
Adam?
I'll tell you. Yeah, let me just tell you about Minkah Fitzpatrick. Minkah Fitzpatrick, according to people I trust, is not even remotely the same player he once was. He's a fine player. He's on the final year of his deal. He's going to make just under $16 million. And as one source has been with one of the teams he's been with, told me he's not a playmaker anymore. He's a fine player, good guy, not worth that cash. And that's why he's going to be available. And remember, Miami is completely eviscerating the roster, man. They're in a total rebuild right now.
Yeah, I mean, so every name on that team's going to come up because they're going to have the lowest season win total in the NFL going into next year. It's going to be like
not Waddle though. Waddle's not going anywhere.
Maybe not. Still going to be discussed. Adam, we'll see you Monday. Okay.
Got that.
Michigan at a 57% chance right now, followed by Arizona, Duke, and Houston. Here's the interesting caveat, Joe, for Michigan, who's the favorite right now. On February the 8th at 5 a.m., they were trading at 40%. Today, 57%. People like themselves some Michigan here.
Well, Donnie, exactly, because Michigan, it just vaulted themselves to number 1 in the AP poll.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
How much do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too? And what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago, how much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
I have my own account. I don't need to have any. He didn't say any of that. So I'm of the belief that if someone accuses you of something and you don't deny it, there's a reason you didn't deny it. Because you kind of feel like they got me. And yes, I'm not going to tell you I did it, but I did it.
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Yeah, and with the Clippers, Craig, it feels like Kawhi is on an island. We saw him ball out in the All-Star game the other day. Kawhi was very impressive, and he's had a fantastic season. I think when you look at the Clippers, if the Clippers record was better, but he's still a James Harden, you would be talking about Kawhi as an MVP candidate. He's been one of the best players in the league in terms of how he's been playing. He's been fantastic.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Our spring training previews continue as we head out to Arizona and check in with Jalen Thompson of the Kansas City Star. He's covering the Kansas City Royals as he has been for the last few years, and kind enough once again to join us with a season preview here on the show. Jalen, great to catch up with you. Thanks for coming on NewsWire.
Hey, Craig, great to see you again. Happy to be on the show. Love it, and I can't wait to get into these Royals.
Yeah, so let's do it here. I mean, the Royals did win 82 games last season. I think people forgot that the Royals are pretty formidable. It's just taking that next step to get ahead of Cleveland and get ahead of Detroit. I know Cleveland came on so strong at the end of last season, but it does feel like Jalen, the Royals, they tinkered a little bit in the offseason, but I think they just feel like if some of their younger guys take another step this season, maybe they are the 87 wins or the 88 wins this season.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Craig. I think the main thing with the Royals is they have to figure out a way to get these young players, specifically like you said, Jack Caglione, Carter Jensen, to take the next step, to get over that hump, and to really provide the offense what they need, and which they didn't really have last season. You look at the Royals for going back to even 2024. You get past Bobby Witt Jr., Michael Garcia, Vinny Pasquantino, Salvador Perez. You really were feeling good about yourself because 5 through 9 wasn't producing in the way they should have produced. So the Royals counteracted that this offseason by getting Isaac Collins, which was a great player from the Milwaukee Brewers, and he was 4th in the National League Rookie of the Year voting. So he'll be the everyday left fielder. And then you're going to have a guy like Lane Thomas that can roll over all 3 positions, a veteran outfield presence. But the question is the offense, was that enough to, like you said, get past Cleveland, get past Detroit, compete against the Minnesota Twins? The same thing. Even the Chicago White Sox are coming up this year. They had a really great offseason. So the Royals are in a division where it can be won. It is a possibility for them to win the division. They have great pitching. They have great starting rotation. They have a great bullpen. The question is going to be, did they do enough offensively this offseason to support the core 4 that I mentioned earlier? And will Jack Caglione and Carter Jensen give you that lift that you need when a player is going from their rookie year to their sophomore campaign?
Great point. Let's take a look at their starting lineup potentially here. Long way to go again in the spring and even to the season here. We got about a month. But Michael Garcia, who signed that long-term extension, he is penciled in as the 1 or the 2, depending on which way they go. Bobby Witt Jr., Vinny Pasquantino, Salvador Perez with the Royals still headed toward the Hall of Fame. He keeps playing at a high level. He'll catch, but of course, Carter Jensen is their young catcher coming in too. So I would guess they'll split time between catching and DH. Collins, who Jalen mentioned, Jonathan India, who they had very high hopes for when they made that trade. We'll see if he comes to that next level. Lane Thomas, as Jalen mentioned, fantastic against lefties, had a really down year last year, and then Kyle Isbell as well. But let's just be real here. The best player on the team is Bobby Witt Jr. If you look around, FanDuel and DraftKings, Jalen, from what we do here, Bobby Witt Jr. is right there to potentially win the American League MVP once again. It's going to be hard, obviously, to get past, Aaron Judge. We did not see Cal Raleigh having the year that he had last year, and I think that's why he got up there. But I think if there is a challenger to Judge this year, this guy would be it.
I think so too, Craig. And I think the MVP race starts well before the season even gets going. I think this upcoming WBC, the world is really going to see what Bobby Witt Jr. is all about. You saw a little bit of it during the 2024 All-Star game, where he was in the home run derby and he finished just second to Teoscar Hernandez to win the title. He was in his hometown. The stories was there. You saw the evolution of Bobby Witt Jr. But this year, I think that he really will break out on the national stage where he becomes that household name that everyone knows when you say the likes of Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, and the like, right? This guy is a 5-tool athlete in every sense of the word. He has the speed, the power, the defense, everything that you need. He won a Platinum Glove last season. He's a Silver Slugger Award winner. He led the league in hits. He led the league in doubles. He has all the tools to be everything the Royals need and more to get back to the postseason. The question is just going to be, will the Royals support him enough offensively to get them over the hump? And I think that's just the key for this season.
Yeah, no doubt. And as Jalen mentioned at the top, Jack Caglione, University of Florida, who was a very high pick, showed a lot of power last year, but the batting average was just so low, struck out a ton. Not projected as of right yet, maybe to be in the opening day starting lineup, but you never know how things can change. Also hit a home run already in spring training. So, Jalen, let's go over to the starting pitching. And so this is, I think, where the Royals did not expect what to happen last year that happened, which was Cole Reagans got hurt, missed a lot of time. And Seth Lugo, who was so good 2 years ago, took a step back and was not the same Lugo that we saw last year as well. So if all those things are equal and those two guys are back to what they thought they were going to be, maybe that is some of the secret sauce that gets the Royals to the postseason.
Definitely agree, Craig. Just looking at the pitching rotation, you mentioned Cole Reagans. He got offered to pitch for Team USA and he turned it down. He wanted to get the Royals back to October, get to the playoffs, get to further than they were in that ALDS against the New York Yankees in 2024. So he was really locked in. He was hurt last year. He had a left shoulder injury. He came back the last 3 starts and was dynamic, looking like the Cole Reagans that everyone knows he could be. You mentioned guys like Seth Lugo and Michael Wacha. They are the veterans of the rotation. And it's going to be interesting to see how well they continue to pitch. They've pitched well since they came over to Kansas City, but it depends on, Father Time is undefeated. So it's just going to see how do they decline or do they continue to progress forward. And I think one guy in that mix that's going to be really important is going to be Chris Bubich. Chris Bubich was among the best pitchers in the American League last season before he got hurt. Same thing, he had a shoulder injury as well. He took the rest of the season off. He rehabbed, didn't have surgery. He looks really good being out there in Surprise during spring training. So we'll just see what he does as he comes back. And you can't forget about Noah Cameron too. But the Royals have depth everywhere, so I think starting pitch is going to be great.
Oh, it should be, and health, like many teams, is the key, but maybe more so for the Royals than a lot of the others with that starting pitching, because you can't count on that, but those guys making 20, 25 starts will definitely enhance their chances to get back to the postseason. Jalen, thanks for checking in, and enjoy the rest of your time in Arizona for spring training, and I'm sure we'll talk again during the season. Thanks again.
Thanks, Craig. I appreciate it.
Jalen Thompson from the Kansas City Star, covering the Kansas City Royals, and we'll be back with more NewsWire.
How much do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too? And what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago, how much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
I ended up adding this since our show started here, Rohit, but his points prop tonight at 20.5 is the same number from the Iowa State game. That's a bit of a mistake, right? When we consider the gap in opponents here. I think Peterson specifically steps up. He needs to. I think he kind of owes this team a great performance.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Time now for us to check in on the very latest in sports and technology. For that, we go to the G2E conference from back in October, and Brady Cannon sits down with the founder of 76 Capital, Wayne Kimmel, where technology, sports betting, and casino gambling meet. Let's take a listen.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is SportsGrid's continuing coverage of G2E, the Global Gaming Expo, right here in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. In 2024, we were joined by this kind gentleman. It's Wayne Kimmel. He is the managing partner, the founder of 76 Capital, a venture capital group, an investor. I got to know this man many years ago when he was an integral part of the success of VSiN, the sports betting network. And Wayne, I know you were a part of that, that sale with DraftKings, and I guess that's come and gone. That's in the rearview mirror. What do you got on your plate these days?
Well, first of all, it's great to see you. It's great to be here at G2E. I mean, I just love this conference. And, we've got a lot of really exciting things. And we backed some incredible entrepreneurs that are doing the next thing across the sports tech and gaming industries. It's an amazing time right now, and there's so much happening across the industry, and I'm excited to talk about it with you.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like there's so many different pieces, and this convention seems to wrap it all together.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, for us at 76 Capital, as investors in these entrepreneurs that are building the next tech, data, and analytics businesses across the gaming industry, it's awesome. I mean, we've been investors in companies like Swish Analytics and companies like Lucra and companies like Epoxy. I mean, just really amazing to be behind these great entrepreneurs that are really making things happen and innovating across the industry. And now the regulations, now they're changing, and it was all state by state, and now you have all the events predictions marketing guys coming into this game from a federal perspective with the CFTC. There's so much happening. There's so many exciting things, but most importantly, I think for all of us, we just want to make sure that sports betting is safe and that it's fun.
Yep.
And that's one of the big reasons why we're investors in IC360, the integrity and compliance company, just to make sure that we're doing the right thing. Because if everything's on the up and up, it'll be all good, whether it's regulated one way or the other way. But we just want to have some good rules.
That's kind of cool that you bring that up, the integrity piece and the watchdogs in this system, if you will. Do you kind of like to spread your portfolio out of your investments and the companies that you're backing with, obviously VSiN, a media arm and an integrity piece and a software piece? Do you try and kind of blanket the entire phenomenon?
Yeah, I mean, that's really what we're trying to do, is really be in position to back companies that are doing the most important parts of the industry.
Right.
And really bring the latest technology, bring the latest data, and be able to then analyze it and make it accessible for the better themselves, for the teams, the leagues, the media companies, the tech companies, right? I mean, that's one of the big things that's really happened, certainly across the overall sports industry and gaming industry, is now the involvement of Google and Amazon and Netflix and Meta. I mean, these major technology companies, Apple, et cetera, right, have come in to the world of sports, that have come into the world of gaming, are really making a difference in this industry at this point.
And Las Vegas is like a microcosm. It used to just be gambling. Now it's restaurants, it's gambling, and all of a sudden, let's call it the last 10 years or so, it's become a major sports hub. And so that has to be, I would think, a market that, ties into what you're doing so much more now on a huge level now. Vegas has become a big part of your portfolio as well.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the convergence, right, of all these, I'll call them great things, right? I mean, from gaming to sports to tech to media, it's all come together now. I mean, to think about, what's happened with, think about ESPN and the new ESPN app that came out. Like, one of our companies is providing the technology to enable you to have a customized and personalized experience with your betting data, with your fantasy data, being able to buy merch online, right? I mean, while you're watching the game, literally with your TV control. So, to be able to bring that sort of technology into the overall infrastructure of sports and gaming is something that we love doing at 76, and it's really exciting to be in the middle of all that across the industry. I mean, a lot of people in the financial services world call this company the regulatory tech company of sports betting. So we'll call it a reg tech company in that perspective. But they're really an amazing group of people that are just making sure that everything's on the up and up, and we know that's incredibly important.
That's great stuff, man. Great to catch up with you again. He's Wayne Kimmel, 76 Capital. Go check it out online, his podcast, his newsletter, all of the above. We appreciate you being an integral part of this industry, my friend.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
How much do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too? And what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago, how much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Well, I ended up adding this since our show started here, Rohit, but his points prop tonight at 20.5 is the same number from the Iowa State game. That's a bit of a mistake, right? When we consider the gap in opponents here. I think Peterson specifically steps up. He needs to. I think he kind of owes this team a great performance.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We got Dexter Henry in the house, and he is covering the National Basketball Association for the New York Post and weighing in on some picks as well with us, as he always does, and joins us now. Dexter, great to be back here on NewsWire. Really appreciate that. So, all right, so this is some unfortunate news for the Cleveland Cavaliers because they were running so good here, and then unfortunately they lose James Harden. We'll probably find out. I mean, usually this is like 48 hours. We got to know what's going on here. A fractured thumb. We don't have a timeline yet, but I'm going to guess it's not days. It's probably weeks. They lose to the Bucks last night, 118 to 116. But that is really the bigger story here at this point because Cleveland was feeling so good about themselves over the past month after making that deal. And I'm guessing now the only silver lining to this, Dexter, is that a fractured thumb should have Harden back, I would guess, for the playoffs. But I don't think we'll see him until then.
Yeah, I think they're going to play this very cautiously. I was looking at some stuff that Jeff Stotts, who runs the Twitter account in Street Close, he said, look, there's a world in which you can miss about 6 games, which generally in the NBA is about 17 days with this, and then play with some sort of protection. Now, the good thing is this is his non-shooting hand, so that does help the Cavs in that now when it gets to that, it's just about how can you play through it with discomfort and all of that. I've never broken my hand and then tried to shoot a basketball or dribble a basketball with my offhand. So that has got to be very rough. But yeah, I think the plan will be for the Cavaliers to take this cautiously, try to get him back for the playoffs. They were playing good with them. He was really activating their bigs. Jarrett Allen had been playing some good basketball. So a little disappointing. They lost last night, Craig. No Spider Mitchell, no Evan Mobley in that one on top of no James Harden. So it was a tough one, but still you think they probably would have had enough to beat the Bucks and they come up just short. So tough one there for the Cavs, and all of us will have our eye on how they do without Harden now.
Yeah, definitely so. All right, so also in the NBA last night, if there's a triple-double to be had, it's probably from Nikola Jokic, and he did have one last night. 103 to 84 was the final there, and so Denver are going to be formidable in the playoffs because you simply never know when Jokic is just going to blow up and take over a series, because that could happen. And for Boston, they've done so well without Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown playing some great basketball, but now we hear that Tatum is maybe even back at practice. And so in the future, does Boston have a shot to get Tatum back maybe for the playoffs? And if not, maybe for round one, maybe they literally get him back for round two or beyond. That'd be a huge boost for them.
It is crazy because I think a lot of this year, I think so many of us thought, okay, there's no chance Tatum is coming back. He's sitting out the whole year. Now the thing you've been hearing is that everything has been progressing well for him. Now the other thing is when he comes back, how does he look? How does he integrate into this team, which has played a little bit differently this year? They've been cutting down on the volume of threes that they were shooting last year, and some of that is personnel. But the Celtics have had a really good year where they're competitive in a way many people didn't think they would be. They get smashed last night by the Nuggets. What I thought was impressive about the Nuggets getting this win and one of watching this game is Nikola Jokic didn't shoot well. 11 of 28 from the field, 4 of 13 from downtown. And this one, Jamal Murray leaves early due to illness. So it was an impressive performance by the Nuggets at home. The Celtics had come into this game winning 5. I think they won 5 in a row. Yeah, 5 in a row. The Celtics had won. They weren't able to get it done. They looked like they just ran out of gas. We know Denver's a tough place to play. But yeah, I thought it was impressive by the Nuggets without Nikola Jokic's best. I know we got the triple-double, but he did not shoot the ball well, and they still were able to have a dominant victory over the Celtics.
Detroit just keeps on rolling, too. I mean, whoever they get put in front of at this point, they beat. And at this point, I think it is fair to say, look out east, because I think Detroit may be the overwhelming favorite to come out of this thing. They beat the Thunder last night. I know Oklahoma City's not playing without their guys, SGA and Jalen Williams, but they seem to still win when they don't play without him. And Jalen Williams, I believe, came back last night to play. 124 to 116 was the final in this one. But I just am so impressed with Detroit at this point. I don't know. Do you have them right now as the favorite to win the conference?
I mean, they should be the favorites. I still struggle to believe a team that has not won a playoff game in recent memory is going to then win 3 and get to the finals. I do like how they play. They're very physical. They know who they are. They cut well. You know, I thought last night they took care of what they were supposed to do against a Thunder team that didn't have 5 of their top 6 players. You can look at that final score, and it wasn't as close because here's the thing. The Thunder got out to a 12-point lead after 1 in that game. Then Detroit responded, and I think they were plus 18, I believe, in the second quarter. So they bounced right back, and they led by 6 at the half, and then they pulled away. I came away from that game, Craig, a little bit really impressed with just how deep the Thunder are and how well coached they are under Mark Daigneault, because they really competed in that game where the Pistons had more talent and they were competitive and fought and even had that early lead. So the role players have a lot of confidence. Cason Wallace has played really good. The other Jalen Williams, not J-Dub, he played really well with a career-high 30 points in this game. So they have a lot of depth, and you just wonder with the Thunder, once they get healthy again, how truly scary they are and how legit they are to repeat here in the NBA. But the Pistons, no, the Pistons are formidable. You just wonder if they go up against a team in the second round or in the conference finals, like the Knicks, the Cavs, even the Celtics, depending on what we said happens with Tatum. How do they handle those teams that have the experience of being there when they have not? That's my one question mark around Detroit.
SGA, by the way, on the other side, could only miss 6 more games, and then he'd be out of the MVP conversation. He's still the favorite at minus 130 over on FanDuel. Cunningham's odds are the shortest they've been all season now, plus 550 to win the MVP. Jokic is 3-1, and then I honestly think that's it. Wemby 18-1. Luka's fallen back, way back 40-1. Jaylen Brown's had a great season. I don't know why he's probably not going to win, but I don't know why his odds are so deep there. Okay, so now let's get to some games tonight, Dexter, because that's what we got to lean on you here for. The Miami Heat taking on the Philadelphia 76ers. Both teams fighting for a spot in the East to not have to play in that play-in spot. Total of 240.5, but I don't know how you could take the Heat right now, not knowing who the bleep is going to play in this game tonight. They got like 3 guys hurt. Norman Powell, I think he's questionable for this game tonight. And if they're missing all the guys that they're listing as questionable here, I don't know why even the 76ers are only a 1.5 favorite.
Yeah, and then the other thing, I think if you're eyeing this game, you're on the Sixers side, you're saying, okay, is Joel Embiid playing? Well, he is listed as probable for tonight, so he is likely to play. Now, here's the thing. Joel Embiid has, sometimes Bam Adebayo has been a guy who's given him a tough matchup. So that's a matchup I'm looking at here. Joel Embiid's points line at 27.5 might be a bit high in this game. You may want to look for the under in that because of the matchup against Adebayo, because he's missed some games and he might not be back in rhythm. That might be a play you like. I can't take the Heat in this matchup. I'm with you. I'm taking the Sixers to cover here. I like the 1.5 points. I take the Sixers to cover here against the Heat. I think you got to go with the Sixers.
Also, Rockets take on the Magic tonight. Let's look at the odds. Rockets -2.5 in Orlando, total 215.5. Houston, slightly better this season in terms of record. They just came off that smashing of the Sacramento Kings. Do they get it done again tonight?
Yeah, here's my thing with Houston. They struggle to score late in games. We even saw them blow that game, the 18-point lead in the fourth quarter to New York. The Magic are also a good defensive team. These are two good defensive teams. I look at that line, 215, and I thought about it like, do you want to take the under here? But I think that line is very appropriately placed here. I like the Magic in this spot. I might hit that Magic money line or take the Magic plus the 2.5. I think they have upset potential. I think they can keep this game really close, which is why I like that. I think this can be a very aggressive game where it's kind of mucked up a lot. Low scoring, like I said, but I do think that line is appropriately placed. So give me the Magic. I'll do the Magic plus the 2.5 points in this one. I like them here.
All right, plus 2.5 there. Finally, let's hit Lakers Suns tonight. Lakers -5, total of 220.5. And Lakers, all the scuttle is about that last shot, I guess, that Luka passed up, threw it to LeBron tonight. And so I'm looking at the line here, and I'm wondering, there's just more motivation from LA tonight, or I must be missing some key injuries with the Suns here.
No, I think Craig. I think motivation will matter here. I would say look for a big game from Luka. Lakers should win this game on the road. No Devin Booker. No Dylan Brooks as well too. They should win this game on the road. I'd look for Luka to have a big game. Look for, what? Take a nice play. Luka triple double. Let's go with that. Sprinkle something a little bit in the Luka triple double.
Big plus money there.
Yeah.
Minus money for. All right, Dexter, thanks again. We'll see you next week.
No problem. See you next week.
Michigan at a 57% chance right now, followed by Arizona, Duke, and Houston. Here's the interesting caveat, Joe, for Michigan, who's the favorite right now. On February the 8th at 5 a.m., they were trading at 40%. Today, 57%. People like themselves some Michigan here.
Well, Donnie, exactly, because Michigan, it just vaulted themselves to number one in the AP poll.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
How much do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too? And what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago, how much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
I have my own account. I don't need to have any. He didn't say any of that. So I'm of the belief that if someone accuses you of something and you don't deny it, there's a reason you didn't deny it. Because you kind of feel like they got me. And yes, I'm not going to tell you I did it, but I did it.
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Yeah, and with the Clippers, Craig, it feels like Kawhi is on an island. We saw him ball out in the All-Star game the other day. Kawhi was very impressive, and he's had a fantastic season. I think when you look at the Clippers, if the Clippers' record was better, but he's still at James Harden, you would be talking about Kawhi as an MVP candidate. He's been one of the best players in the league in terms of how he's been playing. He's been fantastic.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, right, welcome back. Great to have Dennis Bernstein back in the house talking some National Hockey League, as of course the Olympics are over. And I guess, Dennis, before we get to what happened on the ice last night, I mean, you talk about a moment for the ages on the ice last Sunday morning. I mean, I guess that was the only thing that poke a hole at and say it had to happen on Sunday morning, maybe so some people missed it. But look, I mean, the history of hockey was really, I think, put on display yesterday, and I think, or last Sunday, and I think that game in particular, the gold medal game, will be up there amongst the greatest games of all time. I don't know if it's number one, but it's got to be in that conversation.
Yeah, well, we waited 12 years for international hockey to be played again by NHL players, and it's been 46 years since they won the gold medal in the USA. So, of course, it's a defining moment here with respect to USA hockey and with respect to international competition. And whether the Canadians like it or not, Greg, we've caught up. So going forward, the World Cup of Hockey in 2 years, the Olympics again in 4 years, it's a toss-up. We're as good as the Canadians right now, and they proved it on Sunday in Milan.
Definitely a moment that I have witnessed and historically watching the Olympics as I have. I've never seen anything like that. But 1980, I was too young for that, 7 years old. Okay, so Dennis, let's get to the second half of the season, and let's get to some results from last night. The Sabres beat the Devils 2-1. So Jack Hughes back on the ice, and it did not go as planned, I guess. Let's break it down.
Yeah, well, a guy, he had a whirlwind of celebration. Actually, him and all his teammates did, but it was around, he played 21 minutes. So there was no hangover from partying in Miami with everybody and, Pat McAfee. He played 20, but ironically, he turned the puck over to a teammate from the Olympic team, Tage Thompson, which basically decided the game last night in a 2-1 game. So Buffalo's on a really good run right now. They should make the playoffs after 15 years of not being in the playoffs last year. And New Jersey's up against it, Craig, right now. They're on the outside looking in. We'll see what happens with New Jersey, but that was kind of a defining moment of two Olympic teammates, one victimizing the other last night in New Jersey.
You know what's funny, and Dennis, I do want to hit on this topic because Dennis and I were talking about it during the break, is that from a sports handicapping perspective, like you feel like maybe you're ahead of something going into this game last night with Vegas and then the LA Kings. It's like if you could have set up a scenario for yourself, said, you know what, I think that the Golden Knights are going to sit some players from the Olympics. And then when the puck drops, you're like, wow, all these guys are out. I'm going to win this bet. And then you lose. Vegas wins 6-4. I mean, that is, it's not a bad beat, so to speak, but it just shows you in sports and in betting, nothing is guaranteed.
No question, Craig. And I know we do at the fourth period, we do our picks daily. And I had the Kings on the money line last night for that reason. And it's not like they had one or two players out, Craig. They had 5 guys out. 5 guys that played in the Olympic gold medal game were out. So you got to think, okay, and the Kings added Artemi Panarin, who was just traded from the Rangers. So here's a great way to celebrate it against a team that's really shorthanded. And guess what? The Vegas Golden Knights scored 5 goals in the third period with a team that is more like their minor league team than their NHL team. So you're right, Craig. You never know betting this sport what's going to happen. And yeah, absolutely. But tonight, the LA Kings play Edmonton. I got to think that's going to be an over because neither one of these teams played well last night.
What's the total of that game?
Whatever it is, played. It's probably 6.5, Craig. But Edmonton lost 6-5. They can't make a save. You got to play the over in that game tonight because I don't see it going any other way.
Heard it from Dennis there. By the way, Vegas still very heavy favorites to win their division and could even win the West. The Stanley Cup maybe not the shortest odds of anybody in the National Hockey League, but they're still plus 850 there. Okay, so Dennis, here in South Florida, we have just been so fortunate to have the best hockey that we've ever seen played by our guys here, by the Florida Panthers. And I think, and I know a lot of people cover the team, and I remember being at spring training, I think it was last week, the week before, asking somebody who's covering the team, I'm like, so, what's going on here? And it's like, the light just never went on. Like, it just never happened for them. And they're sitting on the outside looking in, and time is running out. They're plus 220 to get back into the playoffs. And I think that historically, if you look at it, Dennis, even if they were an 8 seed, you could see a path to be like, all right, they just sleptwalk through the season. Now they're going to turn it on. But I don't know. Like, it feels like time is running out here. Is it done? Can the Panthers still get in?
Yeah, I think they're cooked, Greg. I just think it's not even the 8-point gap or whatever it is to get to the second wild card. They have to climb over 5 teams. So even if you win your games, there's going to be teams ahead of you that's going to win. It's as simple as that. So I think they're cooked. Look, Bobrovsky, a Hall of Famer. He's won 2 Stanley Cups. He's won Vezina trophies. He's had a bad season. His save percentage is .871 in the league that averages about .900. It just, look, Matthew Tkachuk, I'm glad he celebrated winning the gold medal because he's not going to be celebrating another Stanley Cup championship this season. They've played too much hockey, Craig. They went to the finals 3 years ago, lost to Vegas. They've won 2 years in a row, back-to-back. Enjoy it in South Florida. It's just not their year. Just too much hockey, too many teams to climb up. So I would not make that bet at plus 220 for them to make the postseason.
Meanwhile, Team Canada loses, and so Connor McDavid, man, he's been on the outside looking in of speaking of which, some really tough losses in cup finals and then on the ice in the Olympics. Here's a clip from McDavid on his team losing last night.
This is a hard question, but, Stanley Cups found Gretzky and Crosby and those guys and gold medals, and you've been and put yourself in position, and it's not finding you. Did you think it would be this hard?
That's a nice question. Thank you. It's disappointing. No way around it. We could be sitting here having a totally different conversation if things had gone a little bit differently. So, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to win. It's hard to win at any level, especially when we're talking about the best of the very, very best in the NHL and the Olympics. So, the margins are very, very small, and we obviously saw that on Sunday, and we felt the effects of that here in Edmonton from time to time.
Charles Barkley never won a championship. Dan Marino never won one. Josh Allen is having a hard time getting one. I would think eventually McDavid has a better shot than some of these other guys, Dennis, to get one, though. I feel like eventually Edmonton will overcome, and they realize that generational player, they just got to get it more around him and get a championship.
Yeah, they have to find a goaltender, number one. They haven't been able to find a goaltender since he's been there. But you're right, the narrative's starting to be Josh Allen, the NHL. And now I'll say this, Connor McDavid did win 4 Nations last year. So he has won something. But yeah, to win the Stanley Cup, correct, that's why it's so difficult to win. Like, you have to get players around great players, and they haven't found that in Edmonton. So until they do that, he's going to be struggling to win the Stanley Cup.
Dennis, great stuff. We'll check in again soon. Thanks for coming on NewsWire. Really appreciate it.
It was a pleasure, Craig. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Slick's up next. Michigan at a 57% chance right now, followed by Arizona, Duke, and Houston. Here's the interesting caveat, Joe, for Michigan, who's the favorite right now. On February the 8th at 5 a.m., they were trading at 40%. Today, 57%. People like themselves some Michigan here.
Well, Donnie, exactly, because Michigan, it just vaulted themselves to number 1 in the AP poll.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
How much do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too? And what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago, how much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
I have my own account. I don't need to have any. He didn't say any of that. So I'm of the belief that if someone accuses you of something and you don't deny it, there's a reason you didn't deny it. Because you kind of feel like they got me. And yes, I'm not going to tell you I did it, but I did it. Yeah. Don't you think so?
The Craig Carden Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Yeah, and with the Clippers, Craig, it feels like Kawhi is on the island. We saw him ball out in the All-Star game the other day. Kawhi was very impressive, and he's had a fantastic season. I think when you look at the Clippers, if the Clippers' record was better, but he's still James Harden, you would be talking about Kawhi as an MVP candidate. He's been one of the best players in the league in terms of how he's been playing. He's been fantastic.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on Sports Grid. One story to bring to you from Major League Baseball in case you missed it. Max Scherzer, who is probably the best remaining 1-year free agent still out there and a future Hall of Famer, has re-signed with the Toronto Blue Jays. So, of course, he'll ramp up, pitch in spring training at some point, maybe be ready for regular season. But Scherzer officially back in the fold, the American League champions, Toronto Blue Jays. All right, as we wrap up the show, we will hit on some baseball here. Young player in the Milwaukee Brewers taking to social media. Also, a announcement coming from the New York Yankees, and in addition, an announcement made by the owner of the Phoenix Suns looking to bring nostalgia back to the NBA's All-Star Game and All-Star Weekend. Time now for some Last Lick. Well, we just got through the NBA's All-Star Weekend, and full transparency, if I saw any of it, it was just clips on social media. I went to the NBA's All-Star Game in Miami 30 years ago, whenever that was. Used to watch it all the time. It has just really gone downhill, and a lot of the All-Star games have. The Pro Bowl is a thing of the past. Major League Baseball's All-Star game is still pretty good. But this is kind of funny here because I don't know that this guy is allowed to do this. I don't know what the collective bargaining rules say, but Matt Ishbia, he is the owner of the Phoenix Suns. And he made a comment that he said that he is willing to take $1 million out of his own pocket and give it to the 2027 NBA's Slam Dunk Contest winner. Now, 2027 is next year because we just got done with this year. And look, I honestly couldn't tell you much about what happened in the dunk contest this year, three-point contest, although the ratings did speak to the All-Star game itself doing very well on NBC. So Ishbia says that he wants to revive the dunk contest with true stars after teetering on irrelevance as of late. Yes, that is the deal. But what Ishbia doesn't realize is $1 million in the NBA is also nothing. He'd have to hit $5 million, I think, in order to really get guys to participate in this thing. You are not going to get LeBron James in the past, right? Dwight Howard, Julius Erving of the past, Dominique Wilkins of the past, Michael Jordan of the past. At the time, it meant a lot to those guys. Now $1 million is nothing. Like a fine in the NBA, honestly. Now, I know the G League guys, $1 million a lot for them. But I just don't think that it works. Got to come up with more dough in order to make it happen. More than $1 million. Sorry, owner of the Suns. Jacob Mizorowski and the Milwaukee Brewers social media team doing a great job lately. I don't know if you saw the Sal Frelick video. They did a basically MLB The Show create a player around Frelick. And then they went to social media the other day and they call this guy The Miz. If you've never seen him before, throws, of course, 100 miles an hour. So we got to glorify that. But Mizorowski had a baseball in his hand. He was on the mound and a player sitting at home plate had an apple on his head. Mizorowski threw it what looked to be pretty hard. I mean, I don't know if it was 95, but it looked like he threw it pretty hard at the guy's head, knocked the apple right off of the guy's head at home plate. I thought, wait, hold on a second. I thought it was real. You got to let me finish, Frank. I thought it was real, but at least on social media, the things that are posted can have a little bit of, let's just say, fraudulent activity to it. This one appeared to be one of those. But they got me at the time that I saw. All right, finally, let's go to Hall of Famer CC Sabathia, who chose the New York Yankees to have the honor of him getting into the Hall of Fame. Remember, he went in as a Yankee, and he is officially going to have his number retired, 52, and he will have a plaque at Monument Park, and they will honor him in September. Official date, September 26, 2026. He won the World Series with the Yankees back in 2009. He was also a heck of a player with Cleveland and one of the fun guys in Major League Baseball, of course, through the years. So congratulations to him. Monument Park in New York, the Bronx, one of the really special places to see Babe Ruth's number, Mickey Mantle's number, Joe DiMaggio, old buddy Phil Rizzuto, who I knew very well for a number of years before he passed away. Some great players in the history of the game. Eric, I'm sure I missed some. Whitey Ford, I can keep. All right, that'll do it for the show today. Thanks again to our great guests. We had Michael DeCourcy from Sporting News. We had Adam Kaplan, our SportsGrid NFL insider, Jalen Thompson from the Kansas City Star. We also had Dennis Bernstein talking some hockey as well. Did I miss anybody? I think I got also Mike, I said, yeah, I think I got the Corsi on the top. Hey, folks, download the SportsGrid app. It's free. You can stream us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's that QR code that you see there on your screen. Take out your phone. You have 10 seconds to do it. Open up your phone. Scan that right there. It's the SportsGrid app. It is free for iOS and Android. Thanks again to our director, Luke, for coming in, even though his St. John's team lost by 30. Thanks again to our producer, Frank. I'm Craig Mish. See you back here, and we wrap up the week at NewsWire tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Have a